his party, his message about a rigged election, about a fraudulent election, while all of these are false claims, his voters still, many of his voters are buying it. And, you know, you have to wonder, and you were getting worried from the Georgia Republican Party here, why Republican voters who believe that the election is already rigged somehow against Republicans are going to bother to participate to begin with in the Georgia Senate runoff. It is a real problem that he has created, and that Republicans privately are telling him this is not helpful in Georgia. These are the two most important elections for the control of the Senate that we're still going to have, and it's going to backfire.
Stakes, as you say, are very high in the runoff race come January. It'll determine the balance of power in the Senate. And to you, Swin, I mean, Trump says he's going to be campaigning in Georgia next Saturday. What are both sides doing, Republicans and Democrats, to get voters enthused about turning out and voting, especially when President Trump is not going to be on the ballot?
Well, when it comes to the Republican side, as Patrick was getting into earlier, one of the hardest things about it is the problem about Donald J. Trump is he is not so much a party man in the general conservative or GOP sense of the term as we know it in a modern American presidency. He is someone who feels as if the Republican Party should be subordinated and subsumed into his brand name and into Trumpism, whatever that means at this point. And it's getting to the point where, yes, he is going to Georgia to campaign. Yes, he is telling his voters to get out there. But on the other hand, there are individuals, including his former member of his legal team, Sidney Powell, an attorney that he and his campaign then had to subsequently disavow because she went out there spreading pro-Trump conspiracy theories that the president and Rudy Giuliani and numerous other prominent Republicans were all about. But then she ensnared the Republican governor of the state in her wild conspiracy theorizing in support of Trump, which then got a good amount of Republican voters to ask themselves, is it even worth doing this if even the Republican chief executive of the state is rigged against Trumpism and therefore us? So this is kind of a weird game that Republicans have to play where they have to subordinate themselves to President Trump's ego while also looking after their best interests when they know that Trump is not going to be in the Oval Office come 2021. When it comes to the Democratic side, you had, since the beginning of the aftermath of Election Day 2020, a pretty big money gap that was opening up between Republican money and Democratic money that was pouring into the runoff election in that state. So right now, when you ask what are Democrats doing to get people enthused, obviously they are dangling out there the possibility of if we don't win these two races, then you are going to have more of obstruction from Republicans in the Senate and more of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who's obviously a major liberal boogeyman now. Mm-hmm. But also they need to close that cash gap if they're going to have a fighting chance of being competitive in these runoffs.
Patrick, what kind of hold and for how long will President Trump have on the Republican Party post-2020?
It's significant, Amara. President Trump really does have more influence over the Republican base, far more than any GOP elected official. Mitch McConnell controls very much the agenda in the Senate. If Republicans retain control, he will as well. You're seeing Republican 2024 candidates like Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, Tom Cotton going down to Georgia to campaign, as well as Vice President Mike Pence. But no one has the influence still over the GOP base like President Trump. And you're already hearing certainly a talk in his circles that he may well run again in 2024. At the very least, he wants Ronna McDaniel reelected as chair of the RNC, a close ally, so he can continue to have influence over the machinery of the Republican Party. But he really is setting himself up, I think, in 2021 to still wield influence. And if the Republicans win both seats in Georgia, to claim that the victory is partly his.
Well, we're going to leave it there. Patrick Healy and Sween Soup saying, appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the head separated from loved ones for months.